We're going to go on a little journey today, a journey of a chain of unfortunate events. But I wanted to ask you first, have you ever heard of a story that included mosquitoes, cats, and parachutes? Mosquitoes, cats, and parachutes all in the same story and all related to each other. I hadn't either until I heard this particular story. So we're going to start our journey. And our journey takes us all the way to the island of Borneo. And Borneo is an island in the South China Sea made up of three countries, Indonesia, Malaysia, and Brunei. And the people of Borneo are the Dayak and the Malay people. And you would think, in this beautiful island filled with these beautiful people, what could possibly be the problem? What do you think the problem might be? Well, this particular problem takes us back to the 1950s, and the people of Brunei started to get really sick. And the sickness was actually caused by this guy, our mosquito. And mosquitoes carry a disease called malaria, and not only were the people getting sick, but the people were dying from the malaria. So the people of Borneo put out a cry for help, and luckily a team of scientists stepped up and said, you know what? We are going to get together, we are going to help you, and we are going to find our solution. And what do you think that solution might be? What do you think the scientists would do? Now, we all know what mosquitoes are like in the summer. They're pesty, they bite. And what do we usually use? Have you ever put on bug spray to keep the mosquitoes away? Well, that's exactly what the scientists got together and decided to do. Back in the 1950s, there was a chemical called DDT. DDT was a very strong chemical and really effective for killing mosquitoes. So the scientists got together, they took the chemical of DDT, and what did they do? They sprayed the whole island. The entire island. Every inch of that island was sprayed with DDT. And you would think something good happened, and you are correct. The mosquitoes all died. Now, they're all dead. That's a good thing, right? And a lot of you are probably thinking, well, the story has the mosquitoes, but what about the parachutes and the cats? Well, this isn't the end of our story. Because of the DDT, the wasps that live in Borneo also died. They were sprayed with the chemical as well, so the mosquitoes and these wasps died. Now you would think, okay, well, wasps sting people too, and that's not very good. But the wasp actually eats this little guy. And this little guy is a very hungry eater and eats all kinds of grasses. Now, when the wasps were around, they actually helped keep these caterpillars in check. But now that the wasps are all killed, these caterpillars are actually getting out of control. And you ask, well, why is that a problem if there's a lot of caterpillars? Well, this right here. The people of Borneo build their houses out of grass. So their roofs are actually what's called thatched. And the mosquitoes and the wasps now are all dead. The caterpillars that love to eat grass are getting out of control. So now these caterpillars are eating the people of Borneo basically completely out of house and home. You would think, really, there's going to be more problems? There certainly are. So, because now the mosquitoes are dead, the wasps are dead, and the caterpillars are kind of taking over, we actually have this little guy that lives on the island of Borneo as well, a gecko. And the gecko loves to eat cockroaches. And you think, okay, that's a good thing. But cockroaches were sprayed with the DDT too. Now, we have a problem. The cockroaches have been sprayed with the DDT, and guess what? The cockroaches are all dead. And you know that gecko that we talked about? Well, the gecko needed to eat, so the gecko started eating the caterpillars. Now, you think probably that's a great idea because the caterpillars are eating all the houses. And if we can eat up the caterpillars, they're not going to be eating the houses up. But unfortunately, the caterpillars are eating the grass that the houses are made of, keeping the chemicals in the caterpillar body. The geckos are eating the caterpillars. The geckos start to die. And the gecko is a food source for another animal on the island, the cats. And because the cats are now eating the poisoned geckos, the cats on the island are all starting to die. And if that's not enough, our story continues. The rains start to come. And as the rains wash over the island, the chemicals are washed off of the grass, the trees, all the different soil, and it actually is now washing the DDT into the ocean, which results in dead fish. So we have mosquitoes, caterpillars, cockroaches, cats, geckos. Everything's being affected just by spraying the DDT because of the mosquitoes. And you would think, is that the end of our story? It is not the end of our story because on the island of Borneo, we have one survivor. Out of all the different species that have died from the spraying of the DDT, one survives. Now, we just talked about the cat. The cats are dying on the island. What is one of the species around that cats love to hunt? Do you have a guess? Well, our one survivor is the rat. The rats, for the most part, live up in the mountains, but because all the cats are gone, the rats now are coming into the villages. And not just a few rats, we're talking a lot of rats. And those rats are bringing fleas. And that creates another problem. Those fleas actually carry the bubonic plague. With the bubonic plague, the people of Borneo are getting sick. Not only getting sick, the people are dying again. So we eradicated the malaria by getting rid of the mosquitoes, but because of all that, the rats are now bringing the fleas into the island, into the villages. People are getting bubonic plague, and they're dying. And again, they reach out, they ask for help, and a team of scientists step up. Now, they decide that they are going to help the people of Borneo, but it didn't work out so good last time with just the scientists. So the scientists actually got together and asked the World Health Organization to actually work with them as a team. Well, the World Health Organization, which helps countries all over the world fight different types of diseases, thought, you know what, we can't do it with just scientists. We're going to actually bring in the British Royal Air Force. Now you think, scientists, World Health Organization, and the Royal Air Force, what are they going to do together? Well, think back to how we started this story and connecting with the mosquitoes, the cats, and the parachutes. Now we've learned the mosquitoes are dead, the cats are all dying, but what does that have to do with parachutes? So the scientists, the World Health Organization, and the British Royal Air Force got together and they decided in order to get rid of our rats, we needed to bring in more cats. And how do we get our cats into the island? That's right, we parachuted our cats into the island. And not just a few cats, 14,000 cats were parachuted onto the island of Borneo to get rid of our rat population. It's a lot of steps just because of one single mosquito. And here, if we lay it all out in our Borneo food web, we can see the unfortunate chain of events, which all started with our mosquito being sprayed with the DDT. That killed off the mosquitoes, but also killed the cockroaches and the wasps, which in turn caused an explosion of caterpillars, which were eating the people out of house and home by eating their roofs. The geckos ate the caterpillars, they died. The cats eating the geckos also died, which meant we have a huge population of rats taking over the island. They brought the fleas, which in turn started to spread the bubonic plague. All because of one mosquito, but that led to a whole lot of other events. Ultimately, the event of parachuting our cats onto the island of Borneo. But now we're left with an island overrun with feral cats. That's our next problem, but that's a whole nother story. I hope you enjoyed the story of cats over Borneo.